up me Harley Joe.
Ahoy! I'm the captain of this ship. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike, N2MAK. It is Friday the 13th, and I am so excited. We got an awesome Northeast Ham Radio live stream for you guys today. So let's get started. Let me go around. I'll start off to my left as I'm looking at the tube. Paul, what is up?
Hey, it's good to be here. Paul, N1OG.
Eric.
All right, well, I'm Eric, N1JUR, and sporting, some pirate swag.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, this is Matt, N3VAN. Great to see you guys and everyone that's in the chat.
And Marvin.
Hi, Mighties. I'm Marvin, W0MET.
And Chris.
Chris, KI1P in Vermont. This isn't going to be a 3-hour tour, is it?
No, it's not.
God help us get the joke.
Yeah. And lastly, our guest, but he shouldn't be a guest because he's in the Northeast right now. Salty Walt, what's up?
What's going on? I'm VK4OGO today with my Aussie flag behind me. Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I'm enjoying this. This is going to be great. I'm really looking forward to a fun stream here, guys.
Me too.
Awesome. Well, the whole purpose of this stream is we like to get together once a month, talk ham radio up here in the Northeast, and we figured what a great topic to have since we got Walt would be operating on or around the water. And I know everyone certainly associates you, Walt, with operating on the beach, counterpoise wire on the pool noodle in the water, getting that 10 dB. But a lot of us in the Northeast, some of us have operated on the shores, right on the ocean. Others, like myself, are operating on Great Lakes, Finger Lakes, canals, and rivers. Some of us, I think, Paul, you might have even done some maritime mobile or operated. You got the 7300, I think, hooked up in the boat or used it in the boat, perhaps?
Well, so I got the 7300 and it's in the boat, but the boat has still yet to venture into the water this year.
Really? I thought you already took that with you up north. No?
Now we took the little boat because the big one couldn't get out of the bridge.
Bummer.
My grandfather used to have a sign in his cottage on Lake Ontario that said, a boat is a hole in the water into which one pours money. And I think that that's not the
So
only
true.
one.
Bust out another 1,000.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it stands for.
Paul's got 2
Yeah.
mortgages on. He's got 2 boats.
It's
Yeah.
funny to say that. I'm actually looking for a boat to live aboard up here. I figured I might be in Rhode Island for 2 or 3 years. So I was thinking, instead of pouring all this money into rent, why don't I just buy something to live on it? When I'm done, just sail it home, and I'll put it. I live a block away from a marina in Virginia, so I'll just like pull into the marina, and I will have accounted for 3 years of rent by buying a boat with it.
That sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
should probably. I'm seriously thinking about it. I don't know. I've grown up on the water my entire life. I can sail. I know how to power. Motor boats. My dad, we had boats my entire life. I've been through, calm waters, storm waters, everything else. I've sailed the Atlantic, the Pacific. I know how to, I'm a guy that grew up on the water, so I can handle a boat. And I'd love to live on one. I know one thing though. You guys were up here in New England. It'd be cold as hell this winter living on a boat. But hey, you know what? That's
Yeah, the waters up here are not great, especially in the wintertime for sure for many boaters. They all go south, so you might have to leave a little earlier than planned.
Yeah, I tell you, I worked up in Wisconsin for quite a while, and in the shipyard up there on the Great Lake Michigan, or actually in Green Bay, which is it comes around from Lake Michigan, and we put bubblers in the water to keep the water flowing around the hull because it would freeze. The hull would freeze up tight in the lake if you didn't put the bubblers on. That's something we don't have to worry about in salt water, but that was interesting.
Yeah, well, I love boats. I like the idea of boats. I'm a big speedboat fan, but I think when it comes to like operating on the water, once you get still, once that boat's not moving, forget it. I'm like basically green to head to toe, and you can cash me out. So not gonna happen for me.
Cool deal. Well, I'll tell you what, though, one thing I've discovered is that the state of Rhode Island, where I'm at, I mean, it is kind of a little funky and different than the rest of New England to me. I mean, I worked in Maine for a while and been all over New England, but this little state is just one big salty AF place. You know what I'm saying? It's just like everything is like, it's so cool. That's why my videos right now, everybody see me like it. You don't have to look far to find a seafood shack, a clam shack, a place, that's just really
Awesome.
cool. I mean, just today I got off work, I activated and play. I say activated, not POTA. I just went on the beach and operated portable, playing around with this radio some more, the little Q900, which this thing's growing on me, guys. It's growing on me. I used internal battery today, just 10 watts QRP. DX to Europe. It was great. I enjoyed it. And on the beach with one counterpoise, and we'll talk about that maybe some more. One counterpoise just kissing the salt water, and got off. I left there, and I went to just a kick butt oyster bar, and it was like a connoisseur of oysters. I'm like, I haven't seen anything like this since I was in like Apalachicola, Florida, down in the oyster capital of the world. This little oyster bar here in Rhode Island had like, pick your oyster, where it was from, you know what I mean, and everything. I was like, oh yeah, this is. I don't know if I'm ever leaving Rhode Island. This place is badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, Walt, you ever thrown an NFET halfwave into the ocean?
No, that might be kind of a great idea. Although I think it would be overwhelmed by the ground. I don't know. I've got. There's a matter of fact where I'm staying here I'm in Warwick, Rhode Island. Right around the bay, there's a park with just trees that hang out kind of over the beach. And I've been waiting for the crowds to die down. I want to go there. I have a traditional, 65, 66 foot NFET halfwave. I want to throw it up in the tree and sit on the beach right by the water with a real NFET halfwave. That's going to happen probably a month or so, within the next month. That'll be cool.
Nice. Yeah, when I was down in Florida, I had the opportunity to literally throw the NFET halfwave down into the ocean from the 5th floor.
How'd that go?
And it radiated amazingly. Of course, it was pure eastward, direction. But yeah, it was fantastic. Perfect, clear signals all over Europe.
I've hung a random wire. I can't remember, maybe 29 feet or so. I can't remember what the actual length was. Off my bow, I took a pole and put the ballon at the end of the pole and then hung the wire straight down off of like a 5th or 6th foot hotel balcony in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, or in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. That video is actually up, and that was a pretty cool day too. It was amazing. Like, not about the radials and the saltwater or whatever, just being that close. You know what I mean? That first skip and hop off of the saltwater was just amazing. It's and I think, and Mike, you probably experienced this too. That's where the Great Lakes are really a great place to be. If you know what I mean, if you're somewhere on the banks of the Great Lakes, yeah, you're not getting the 10 dB boost from the salt water and the salinity and the however many thousands of Siemens per meter or whatever that, but you're still clear. You know what I mean? You're like fully clear on that first bounce out of, however your antenna is radiating. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can attest that, when it comes to the gain, that, the fresh water is about as good as dirt. It's definitely not the salt water or whatever. But that said, when you get on like the Great Lakes, then yeah, it's clear for 40, 50, 60 plus miles, and whatnot, and it's
directionality in the way of the clearness, I would think. I'm asking this.
Yeah,
I could end up in Wisconsin again working, so I'm kind of curious myself.
Yeah, I have to look at some logs and think about how much the directionality is. I mean, it's real nice just the fact that you get you're wide open and you're not dealing generally with as much noise as you would be if you're in like suburban environment and everything else, because usually it's it's wide open and nothing for for several miles. The thing that comes into play really nice with the Great Lakes is the tropo. And I've got lucky with the ducting a couple times, and it's amazing to sit there with an HT on the shore of the lake and have a QSO 80 something miles with just a 5-watt HT and a signal stick antenna. It's amazing, and it's really cool when you catch that tropo. And one of the nice things that you don't think, we focus a lot, and you're going out and we're doing POTA or trying to get DX, you're thinking about the HF bands, but those high bands, you catch some of that tropo, and it's pretty neat what you can go and 1 minute it's there, and like the next day it's gone, or an hour or a couple minutes. Poof.
That's cool. Tropo and sporadic E. Cool moment that my son's 32 now, but he was like 17 or 18, and we were driving from Virginia up to Mass. He was playing it's called a Chowder Cup. He was playing up in Massachusetts in a hockey showcase, and I think he was like 17 or 18. And we're riding through Delaware, and my son's really into music, so he's spinning the FM dial on the car, and he like crystal clear. He's like, "Oh, I love that song," and we're listening to it. And then when the song ends, the guy comes on the radio and goes, "Minneapolis, Minnesota's greatest hits, da 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 da." And my son goes, how is that happening, Dad? Teaching moment. I'm like, all right, let's talk about sporadic E, and this is whatever. And he goes, all right, Dad.
Well, son, when RF combines with the atmosphere and they both create little molecules.
Cool. I'll try. Let me see. I'm going to see if I can show a photo real quick. Let's see here. Share screen.
Well, Mike's doing that. Well, who's like most of you guys running wire antennas when you're at the beach, or are you guys any vertical guys here?
I'm always vertical. I'm vertical.
I ran 2 dipoles off of like a portable mast. The 2 times I've worked on the beach, and I think both of those times that I've done it, one was in North Carolina and the other time was in Florida, and it was probably the best POTA activation I ever had, with just 130 plus contacts each time. It was just blowing me out of the water. I was surprised how well I've had such good activations on the beach.
From experience, I'll tell you this, and from research, I read a lot of papers, and I'm into it. My channel is called Coastal Waves and Wires for a reason. You're going to see some really great great things happening with horizontal antennas. You turn that antenna into a vertical, and you use that what's below you for a ground plane. That 100 contact activation will be the biggest pileup you've ever had in your life, and you're going to have to you're going to get tired. You know what I mean? It's like it's being next to salt water is amazing for any antenna. I always say, kind of a running joke, but it's true, is horizontal by land, vertical by sea is kind of the way to roll. And my friend Tim's here. Hey, Tim, it's great to see him.
Howdy, Tim. Yeah, I got to restart Chrome, so I'm not going to bother doing that to shore. It was just a picture of me on the shore with a HT. But what was interesting with the Tropo, and it was about a year after having my license, I'm up in the Sackett's Harbor region on the Great Lakes at my in-laws' cottage, and up there with my family. And before I went up to the cottage, they asked me, will you reprogram the TV? And there's no cable up there. You got to just scan with the bunny ears and stuff. And I go to rescan the TV, and I noticed some stations are coming in from Rochester. Now, as the crow flies, it's about 80 miles away, direct path over the lake. And I'm like, oh, they're getting channel 8 up here. And I started thinking, I'm like, wait, aren't these some of these stations like on UHF frequencies or whatever? And first time I was up there, I certainly tried to see if I could hit repeaters back home. No luck. I walk out after reprogramming the TV, and sure enough. And so the TV is actually, when I'm up at that cottage, the TV is my beacon. If the Rochester stations are coming in, then I know that there's ducting. And every time that's happened, sure enough, I can go out, and with an HT, I can have 80 plus mile QSOs as the crow flies. This is crazy.
Funny you should say that, Mike. I don't know if you saw it a couple days ago. I put a picture of me as a little boy on a mini bike in front of my house. If you saw that. Okay. That was my front yard. You saw that water? That water behind me was my front yard. We had a road and then the front yard. Well, that is basically the end of the Chesapeake Bay, the very end.
Okay.
That from my front yard, you take a hard right and you go into the Norfolk Harbor when I was a kid. So at night, or for almost throughout the entire summertime, all the way at the bottom of the Chesapeake Bay, we could tune our television UHF to channel 17 and watch the Philadelphia Phillies all the way at the other end, from in Virginia all the way to Philadelphia. Like, I would say 7 out of 10 times. This is back in the analog days too, so the fuzz would be there or whatever. But it was a clear shot from my house, my front yard, all the way up the Chesapeake Bay to Philadelphia, and we could get television in the summer. Wintertime, it was gone, but it was the same deal. Call it Tropo, sporadic E, or not even sporadic, because it was so regular to get that television.
There's been, from some of the maps I've seen, and I haven't gotten out to play much on the radio. The last couple of days I've been so busy, but VHF Contest is coming up this weekend, starts tomorrow afternoon. And a couple folks in the VHF group up here were posting some of the Tropo maps, and just the way the weather is up here right now in the north, it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's really shaping up. There's apparently been, quite a few openings and stuff. And so with a contest weekend for VHF, that might make things really interesting this weekend. So we shall see.
I want to say one thing. Everybody in the chat that said really nice things to me. Walt's my Elmer. Walt, I appreciate it. Whatever. My YouTube Elmer's in the chat as well. Tim G5TM, guys. If you don't subscribe to his channel, go subscribe. Tim is Tim's my man. He's awesome. So just saying that. A little plug for Tim. And
very cool.
I'm so glad he's here. I'm kind of flattered that he came to watch us. So that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's probably close to midnight over there right now. So,
all right.
Hey, Chris, you planning on playing in the VHF UHF contest?
Yeah, I want to, but I got tons of family stuff in the way. So I'll probably take the van and drive up Roxbury Mountain, play around for a little bit, but nothing serious. But you're right about the band openings. I've been looking at the APRS propagation map. There's been a lot of red blobs over the Northeast. So hopefully that's around this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my tool. It's not, I don't have rabbit ears like you, Mike. So, in essence, I have to actually rely on the internet, sadly. So yeah, funny you mentioned like verticals, Walt, because I don't know if you're seeing it now since you're operating from Rhode Island, but like I did a 7-park rove all the way up like Route 1 through New Hampshire into Maine, and yeah, we just sat on 10 meters, literally every park and beach all the way straight up until we like, got to like 4 or 5 in the afternoon when 10 was like, okay, I'm done for the day. And we had a direct pipeline into Europe and South Africa and, all that. You finding the same thing now when you're doing your sport?
It's funny right now. 10 is just coming alive, like for New England, for me right here. Like I'm saying, just like 10, 15 days. It's like, it's kind of funny if you watch the muff map, you can even see it. You can see it growing. This, the maximum usable frequency is growing and growing and growing. In about a week or two, we're going to be able to work the world from New England on 10 meters. You can see it coming.
Yeah, can't wait. Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
it's a good time to be a tech. Trust me. Oh man,
I try to push that. It's like last weekend I went like over to Portsmouth, Rhode Island with that I'll call it Anytone 555 plus. Well, export radio that I didn't do anything to. I kept it a 10-meter radio, the Redivus thing, and I was sitting there, man. It was like 35 watts or so. It was like shooting ducks in a barrel, man. It was a blast. And what was funny, I looked at the muff, and the muff was only like 23, 24, and I'm sitting up here like just rolling in 28 megahertz. It was kind of cool. So yeah, it was working well.
Yeah, those moments are wicked crazy. It's like I'll go out and do an activation, and like I'll look at like a quick, poke at the, the map and the index and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be horrible. And then just like in a matter of like 10, I mean, it's a little longer in terms of activation time, but like, instead of 9 minutes, it's like 15 minutes, and I'm already like, killing it with some of the bands and
right.
And expecting them just to fall over. But it's good to know that by the time we get to end of September, we're going to be pretty much getting right back into 10 meters, which I'm looking to start doing and get a whole ton more.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I just, matter of fact, it's going to be here. I got a couple things I'll show you. One of the things I'm getting ready to rip a hole in the ham radio universe. I got an 11-meter rig that came today.
Oh no!
So I'm going to do what others have never done. I'm going to operate just like I do with ham radio. I'm taking it out on the beach. A lot of people don't realize that in 2017 the FCC lifted the skip requirement. It used to be you could not communicate more than 155.3 miles in the United States, whatever. They lifted that. It's gone, and a lot of people still don't realize that. I mean, and we all know 11 meters, people will like crank up the power or whatever, but I'm going to show, that's why I got the FCC, because it's like 12 watts. I'm going to show legally, I'm going to do a video to show you how you can legally work skip on 11 meters. I'm looking forward to that. On top of that, I'm also have a President Lincoln 2 coming. That's a 40 watt, 12 and 10 meter radio. One of my subscribers actually contacted me and sold it to me for a very, very good deal. I'm like, you sure? He goes, yeah. I'm like, all right, here's my PayPal. Take my money, send that thing to me. So, so I'm going to like really take advantage of what's coming up right now on 10 and 11 meters. I can't wait. I can't wait. And I talk about 11 meters because I want to bring the 11 meter guys that are really, you guys, if you've ever worked 11 meters, there's some awesome, just really classy, top-notch operators in 11. There's a lot of jerks and crap in there too. I want those guys that are really good to come over here with us. You know what I mean? And I also want the guys that are like, salty and kind of like get out SSB, whatever. I want them to the ham guys to kind of dabble over in 11 too. Let's just like, it's just a band between two ham bands. It's in between 12 and 10. You know what I mean? It's just another band. So, and that's where I came from. I was an 11 meter guy probably before everybody here except me was born. You know what I mean? That's just where I'm at. And so that's where I'm going with it. So yeah, I'm so excited with the conditions and coming up on the peak of the solar cycle. Right now, we're coming into fall here in the Northern Hemisphere. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great.
Now,
Okay,
I got a question for you. Well,
hold the train here, Mike. We've got an important announcement. I don't know if you've noticed Ham Alert's been blowing up. Grayman Poda is sitting on 7 point something AM, Mike. You need to get on AM right now.
I got to get permission from the captain to operate.
The ship on cruise control. Come
Wait,
back.
hold on. Yeah, I feel. I'll just say the sidebar on AM real quick. It's been fun.
When were you active?
What was that, Chris?
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh
no, Chris, you want to go ahead? You want to finish that thought or the question? Is he not hearing us, or did I freeze? Or
what?
You freeze, Chris? No. All right.
Okay. All right. I'll just say with AM, it's been fun to do and try, and I've learned, but it's a challenge. AM is definitely a challenge. Oh, I think Chris must have a lag or something, because now are you hearing us, Chris? Because you were about to ask something.
I was just saying, what frequency were you talking about?
He's sitting on 7295 AM.
What frequency were you talking about? AM.
Oh, one of the ham guys, ham tubers, is working 7295, 40 meters AM.
Problem with that is the Euros can't work it. They can't go above 7.2.
Yeah, and yeah, they definitely can. It's hard to find the bandwidth for AM, is where I was going to say, like, because you're taking up so much space, and I try not to step on anybody. And so I'm listening down on sideband before I pick a frequency. Is there anyone near there? Is there anyone on AM? And if you operate at night, which is good, but then you start getting 40 meters starts opening up, and then you start getting more, international broadcasts coming in. It's tough. I've gotten a couple really good activations, and where I've gotten like a few dozen on 40 meter AM with, what is 25 watts, 20 watts, whatever the 100 watt radios put out. I think it's 25. Yeah. But with the 25 watts, and I'm curious, I got to try it late at night, because I don't have a lot of DX on 40. I've gotten some when I do late shifts, but I'll have to try that. I do have a 40 meter vertical I built, quarter wave, that I can bring out one of these times and set up and see if I can maybe get out there really late. But AM can definitely be a challenge, but it's fun. It's something different.
Speaking of 40 meters is such a different band in the United States compared to the rest of the world. I don't know if you guys know, but I worked back and forth to Poland for 2 years, and I was over in Europe. And man, and my friend Tim here, I watched the guys in the UK operate, and they all kind of like go to 40 and start working 40, and I'm thinking, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Because in the States, 40 is just such a different band. You know what I mean? Maybe it's me. I kind of like, my life begins at 20 meters and goes hot up. You know what I mean? It's like for DX and working portable or whatever. I mean, Mike, you just said you have a quarter wave for 40, but how freaking hard is that to build? You know what I mean? To put a quarter wave up vertical for 40 meters. Yeah. Damn.
That's big.
Yeah. It's basically, I mean, it's the simplest thing, because it's like 33 something feet of wire, and it's just going to a BNC or one of the BNC Cobra head binding posts. And then I've got all the radials to hook up to that. So I just need the space for, I think I got 6 radials, 6 33-foot radials for it. And whatnot, but it's, you go to the trouble to set that up, and it's not going to really be multi-banded. So you're setting that up, you're going to be committed. But up here, 40 meters, if I'm focused on POTA, 40 meters, pretty much regardless of the time of day in the Northeast, you're going to get contacts. If that's what you're thinking about, you're not going to get DX, but you're going to get, there's such a ham density in the Northeast that with 40 meters, you don't need a lot of antenna. You don't need a lot of power. As long as there's not a horrendous amount of noise on the band, most of the contacts are going to be, an S7 to an S9, regardless if they're running 5 watts or they're running 100.
Yep.
And it's easy to make those contacts. That said, it depends what people are looking to do. If you're looking to work DX, then that's a real challenge. And I was super excited the first time I got DX from France on 40 meters, one late shift. And that was with a 40 meter dipole, up, about 30 something feet, at around 11 o'clock in the evening, Eastern time. And I was like, oh, this is so cool.
I will,
That's
it's
fun.
funny you say that. When I was in Poland, I would get up at like before sunlight. Over there in the wintertime, the sun doesn't come up till like 8 in the morning anyway. So, I was in Poland. I would get up before I go to work, and I would have like a NFET halfway for 40 or whatever stretched out over the backyard, which kind of was broadside over to USA. And I think most of my USA, contacts or whatever were on 40 below 7,200. To the USA on 40 meters, more so than the higher bands, which you kind of would, for me on this side, back over here in North America, it's the high bands where I work Europe. You know what I mean? It was kind of strange. It was a different thing for me, but that also I know for a fact was because I never worked anything more in 2 years time. I never worked anything above 20 watts the entire 2 years. So,
Wow.
So what is we were talking about verticals a little bit ago.
Mhm.
Like, are you using like a Chelegans, a Wolf River coil? I mean, what are you using for your verticals on the beach and some of those other things that you're doing a lot of that with?
There is nothing that I haven't used on the I use everything. I'm an experimenter. I like to go every time I go on the beach. I want something different I haven't used, and I've kind of almost run out of ideas. I use things over and over again. I'll tell you, of all the things I've used, when I'm on the beach, to me, 20 meters is money. Maybe because I way back used 20 meters when we were at the bottom of the solar cycle, and 20 meters was the band back then. But I love 20 meters. A vertical half wave for 20 meters. I take my DX Commander 10 meter expedition pole. I take a piece of PVC pipe, drive it in the sand, screw the bottom off of the DX Commander, slide it on top. To that, I just use speaker wire. Use a half wave length cut piece of speaker wire for the 20 meter band. 49 to 1 coax. I use about a 1 meter long counterpoise on that because you really don't need it for halfway. But that antenna, I'm telling you right now, I have worked long path, short path, every path you can imagine around the world with that antenna on the beach, just being next to salt water. That is, to me, that's my money antenna. But I can't do but like a couple videos on it on my channel of that antenna. I got to do something different because people don't want to see me on the beach, right?
Well,
100 times.
What you need to do, Walt, is basically just take a big bowl or like your 5-gallon hammer bucket, scoop out the salt water, and then just go inland and put your wires in there and see, what you get.
Said that because there was a guy on YouTube that did that, and I'm like, no, that's not how you do it. That's what the thing is. It's the glass. It's the whole area. You know what I mean? That's that whole
The surface, yeah.
The ground plane. It's not the salt. It's really not the salt water at all. It's just the surface of the water and the conductivity. How many Siemens per minute of that you can? I mean, something I want to do, and I'll get there eventually. I want to go out to like Great Salt Lake. I want to go to the Bonneville Salt Flats, in places like that, and experiment and see if I get that same thing happening to me. I want to do that.
Heck, you just need to get in a plane and go out to the Dead Sea and try it there.
Oh, I've talked to people that have worked boats from the Dead Sea, and they said that I'm a really big medium wave DXer. I love listening to AM signals. The first video on my channel is from me in Kauai, Hawaii, like listening to Tonga and New Zealand and Japan, on medium wave. And I talked to guys that said they can go out on a boat in a medium wave and you can literally listen. And back then, the guy said he was in the Dead Sea with an AM radio and a nice antenna and was listening to WFA in New York, and he was listening to a Mets game. I mean, wow. That's crazy, like.
Nice. Yeah.
One of the things I got to say, Walt, is I know you get, and it's sad. You know, there's definitely some sad hams out there. I don't like that word, but there's definitely some sad hams, or we jokingly call them the Driveby Engineers, and they'll say things like, "Well, that's just because you're on salt water or whatever." And,
Mike, you gave me that name. I think you gave that name out.
Yeah.
The Driveby Engineer came from you. I love it. I still
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I always like to joke, like, pretty much every antenna you've used or made, I've used in the woods. I've used it on a lake, and it gets out. You know, they get out, they work. Certainly, you know, having 10 dB gain or whatever, but everything that you've made, you know, put together from the most basic to the most complicated, I've done it on dirt and with, you know, 10 watts or less, and it's still, you know, they get out or whatever. So, you know, there's certainly an advantage, but at the end of the day, like, you know, you're doing some really good antennas, and there's pros and cons to just about all of them, from deployment to patterns and everything else.
Yeah, every antenna is a compromise. You know that. I mean, we all know that. You know, one of the things I will tell you, Mike, you and I are like at the beginning of the Ribikoff craze, which I don't take credit for beginning. I found the Ribikoff. I was researching antennas and found the Ribikoff. I went on YouTube, and there was one Ribikoff video on YouTube, and that was Tim G5TM. And what I did was I messaged him and got in touch with him and said, Tim, dude, I want to build this antenna. Tell me all about it. And Tim, being Tim, he's such a cool dude. He just filled me with like this amazing information about the Ribikoff. So I did the video on it. As a matter of fact, if you watch my first video on it, one thing I did, and I'll say this right now, one thing that irks me is when I see someone 100% copy something I did and they don't even mention me. But I went in the video and I said, hey, I don't take credit for this. My friend Tim, this is him, and I'm going to build this. You did the same thing, Mike. You build it and you go, hey, Walt K4OGO.
Yep, I bet you would.
And whatever. But yeah, so I don't, getting back to what you said, thank you so much, Mike, but I really do a lot of research. I mean, I'm an engineer. I'm not an RF engineer. I'm a structural engineer. So I grew up reading publications and papers on bending moments and finite elements and stress and all this stuff. And I'm like, you know, that exists for antennas too. So I go read these things. I'm not going to say I'm the smartest chap in the world, because half of the crap I read I don't understand, but I get enough out of them to like, okay, I can do this and build the antenna and, you know, whatever. So that's kind of where, you know, where I'm at with that. And yeah, I don't just like cut wires and build antennas all the time. It may look like that on the channel, but I do kind of like, I put a little bit of effort and research into the antennas when I build them.
Yeah, well, we're talking about antennas. I gotta ask Matt and get him in here. Since he's the antenna guy here, making them with Reliance antennas. If you're not familiar, it's fantastic. I have the 9-to-1 NFET random wire. I think Walt recently used one of the chokes and stuff. But Matt, just real quick, talk about Reliance. Do you have anything new coming out, by the way, or what's hot for you? What's selling?
Well, since Walt put that video out, I've been busy building all those chokes. He bought it. I was so busy that day I didn't even recognize him, and I'm like, wait, I'm subscribed to you on YouTube. And then all these, I came back from Ham Exposition, and I'm like, what's going on? All these orders came through. I had to scour, you know, YouTube until a friend said, hey, you know, Walt did a video on your thing. And I'm like, really? I'm like, looking. I'm like, he didn't even put it in the title, not in the description. He just said, hey, I bought this from a guy. He didn't even know who I was. It was great. But yeah, I just switched over and added the white cases for like that little bug out mini. Another gentleman bought one. And well, he bought one on my website, 1-in-1. He does CW modes out in Utah and Forest. He does great YouTube videos. And I asked, hey, do you want a white case? He goes, sure. And then he put it up on a video. He attaches it right to his KH4, the new Elecraft. And I'm like, crap, I better put them up on the website. So that's what I did real quick yesterday. And out went 14 today. Luckily, it was kind of a day off. So
Wow.
So wait, we can customize the color. I'd like green.
Oh, green. I don't know.
Surprise! Surprise! Surprise!
That blue. Okay, we'll do that blue.
You guys keep talking. I'm answering a comment without saying anything.
That is a good color, though. You know, in essence, that might be another option.
Exactly. No, so that's the latest that's been going on. It's I was down near Delaware at the GCARC Hamfest, which was huge. That's in the southern tip of New Jersey, and it was great.
I tell you what, that little that choke I got from you is really cool, and I knew it when I saw it because I have another one from another builder like it, and he even said to me, and I have gotten so many questions. Where'd you get it? Where'd you get it? Where'd you get it? And he's had a hard time filling the orders, and he's a good friend. Don't get me wrong. I'll go ahead and say it. Tim N9SAB. His choke. When I saw yours, I was like, Tim can't fill his orders. This one looks as good. And I was like, and then it's like, I'm telling you right now, it's really cool.
Yeah, Tim's a great guy. I know him with the antennas. Really good stuff he makes. I like them because they're nice and compact. And he worked with who's out there in
Tech Prepper?
Tech Prepper, yeah.
Yep.
He made that real nice what is the dipole, the link dipole for him, or off center fed or something, where it was perfectly for his bands because he's starting to do more digital modes on there, which is what he primarily does, the Tech Prepper. Yeah,
he's pretty cool. I like the fact that he uses like he's got a lot of like surplus Navy, Army, Navy or whatever, like field radios and stuff like that. When I retire, that's all I'm going to do. I told somebody today, I was like, you guys think I'm all into low power, but when I retire, I'm going to get a big ass tower, a beam, and like 1,000 watts, and just sit at home all day talking to the world, like
blasting people. Yeah,
absolutely.
What's stopping you now?
Yeah, the fact that I'm like 800 miles from home, working on the road, living out of a Jeep.
Flex. Go flex there, Walt.
There you go. Yeah, well, our club, matter of fact, it's funny you say that. I'm a member of the Chesapeake Amateur Radio Club. We're one of the few clubs in the country that if you're in our club, you can flex in and use the flexes in Chesapeake. Like, I'm giving you guys all a hint. Go join CARS, Chesapeake Amateur Radio Service, and
maybe worth just
from my home.
Just for that.
Yeah.
What was that, Marvin?
It may be worth joining just for that to have access to.
I'll tell you,
another part of the country, you know.
Yep, that, and you can the other club. I'm in two clubs. I'm in that club, and I'm in the USS Wisconsin Radio Club, which is the Wisconsin sits right across the harbor from my house. I can look out my living room window at it. So I'm the closest club member to the ship. So if they need me, I'll like run over to the ship. But yeah, it's that's the other club I'm in. That's a cool club to be in. You can join that club as an associate member as well. I'm not trying to be an advertisement here, but and then if you're ever in town visiting Virginia Beach or Norfolk, you know, we'll take you're a member. We'll take you on the ship and you can operate. You know, that's kind of cool as well.
Very cool.
I got a quick question for the group. Has anyone here operated from a boat? Like, I think, Walt, I've seen you work one of the battleships, like one of the radio rooms, like for an event or something. But has anyone actually operated from a boat on the water, whether it's docked or not? Chris?
I lived on a sailboat for 2 summers and operated from the sailboat. It was pretty small. It was a 27-foot Catalina, but operated from that all summer.
That's cool. What a great boat.
Nice.
I've operated remotely. If that counts.
I've operated channel 16 VHF like on probably about 40 boats.
Yes.
Now, were you doing solar for recharging batteries and stuff like that, Chris, when you were operating from the sailboat?
It was in my younger year. I was in my early 20s. I was working at a marina, needed a place to stay. Someone couldn't afford to put their boat in the water and they couldn't afford dock fees. So the owner of the marina made a deal where he wouldn't charge the guy dock fees if he allowed me to stay in it. So I lived dockside on a sailboat, didn't know much about sailing at all. So I slept in the sailboat and had all the amenities there. But never really left the dock too much, so I was plugged into AC power.
I
Chris,
see.
Chris,
Okay.
you basically have where you're at right now. I've seen your van or whatever. It's basically a boat on land anyway, where you're at. Right?
I call this a schooner. This is a schooner. I got 2 masts, so it's a schooner.
You ought to name it like the HMS, whatever. It's a ship. That thing's a ship, man. I'm telling you, it's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well,
It looks like you're in a radio room.
It does.
It feels like I'm out at sea when I have both masts up and it gets, blowing 20, 30 miles an hour in the wintertime. The whole van just starts rocking.
If the Rand's a rockin', don't come knocking.
Yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan playing.
Oh,
So,
Well, go
I
ahead,
wanted
Chris.
to mention something. What you have going for you on the water is the same for me here in the mountains, but
Right.
kind of polar opposites. So I take it you're going to the water and you're gaining 2 things. You're getting a very low angle of takeoff because you're on really flat surface going out for miles.
Right.
And I get that going up in the mountains and I get a very low angle of takeoff. And the other thing you gain is very low noise floor because you are away from everything.
Yeah.
And I gain a very low noise floor for the exact same reason. You're going as low as you possibly can to the ocean, and I'm going as the opposite to gain the exact same
Right.
Benefit.
Yeah.
I will.
Thank you.
I think I do have one more thing that happens to me though. There's a little bit of electromagnetic magic that happens for me. As a matter of fact, I did a video like a month ago. I just woke up at like 5 a.m. I'm driving to work, and I cut on the AM radio, and you can't hear the station. And I drove right up on the beach, right to the beach, and you can just hear. I put it on a station in Cuba. I knew where this station was because I'm a medium wave DXer. 530 kilohertz. I was like, watch this, guys. And as I drove up to the beach, all of a sudden, you're hearing the station. There's a lot. There's just some. I like to call it magic or whatever. There's science behind it or whatever. But there is some amazing electromagnetic crap happening when you get right next to salt water. Whether you're using it as a ground plane, whether the wire aerial on your 2017 Jeep is picking up a station in Cuba or whatever, when you get close to that water, it's amazing. I'm sure you have something similar like that too. When you're all the way at a peak and and everything else is below you, and you're probably doing the same thing.
Yeah. So for me, it's more higher frequency stuff, VHF, where you get some cool stuff going on. So I spent all week today at 4,000 feet working on different mountaintops. As I'm driving up Killington, which is the second highest peak in Vermont, I'm listening to just FM broadcasts, and I'm picking up a station in Vermont. I go around the mountain. Now I'm picking up a station in New Hampshire. As I get a little bit further higher up, the station in New Hampshire fades away, and now I'm getting I think it was 104.7 out of somewhere on the Cape. 104.7 the coast, or if there is such a thing. And so also very neat phenomenon going high as you got it going to the salt water.
Oh, I know for a fact that you're
different
technology,
different
I've taken my little Walkman with me on a flight on an airplane. I remember one time I was flying from New York into Norfolk, Virginia, and we were up high, and I you're not supposed to do this. Kids, don't do this at home. I put it stuck it to the window and had my headphones in, and was kind of spinning the thing around. And I remember listening to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was over in New Jersey, you know what I mean, on FM radio.
Yeah.
So that was VHF, obviously, for FM radio.
That's so good that we're talking about, because we get so focused on the gain and stuff when we're talking about saltwater and everything, but operating, whether it's up high, like Chris was saying, or you know, right down on the beach, like you do, Walt, the receive, because if you can't hear somebody, you can't work them. You know, so
I used to agree
you
with
got to hear them.
Some places now, like where and you've watched any of my videos in the last 3 or 4 videos. The one thing that's kind of like, I think because Rhode Island's got so many salt water, it's just like, you know, the Narragansett Bay or whatever. I can hear now better than I can get out. And it's the first time I've ever experienced that phenomenon. Like I used to be able to work anyone with 20 watts that I could hear. I can't do that here. And I think that's because the reception here is better than the transmit, if that makes sense.
Funny you mentioned that, because it's like, yes, it is, I think, but I don't have anything to compare except Florida. So in essence, you know, my range of, you know, overall audio, you know, reception and just receive only. But yeah, I feel like I'm a little biased on that side, but yeah, I agree.
Well, you know, during World War II, the government, the U.S. government's listening post in World War II was here in Rhode Island. Situate, Rhode Island had this big post, and they could hear anything around the world. As a matter of fact, they heard in North Africa, they intercepted Rommel and the tank things or whatever here in Rhode Island at Situate. And that kind of makes sense to me because, you know, I stumbled across a listening post, an old abandoned, somewhat listening post while I've been here. And it makes sense. And I've done all the digging in and research or whatever now that I'm here now, because I'm an ultimate radio nerd. You know, I want to figure out what's going on. And Rhode Island was the spot for reception and listening back in the war in World War II. So it's got to be something. Yeah. I think if you look at a map of Rhode Island, you just see Rhode Island looks like a nice square state, but like the whole, it's a cream filled donut. In the middle, it's all salt water. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know,
and it's marshy too, as well. You know, it's pretty much.
You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. Yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned there is a listening station. I don't know if you've seen it. It's actually very much buried in the woods. I mean, the remnants of it are still sort of there, but I don't know I can't remember I saw the YouTuber who did a kind of like those YouTubers that kind of do the exploratory kind of like, you know, abandoned buildings. He did one in Rhode Island of that actual station and whatnot. I could just dig up the link and I'll throw it in there, but it's pretty good.
Go on. I was looking for that too. If you do know it, I'm going to go visit. I'm going to do the exploration. So
yeah, now that you got me thinking about it, I'll have to dig it up here.
So Marvin, I got a quick question for you, bud. We know you got the zero.
I've got a question.
So we know you haven't been in New England the whole time, but what's been your experience with regards to the water? Have you operated on the ocean yet, or have you done it on lakes? Or
it's funny you mentioned that. So like I said, I've done the 2 activations in North Carolina and Florida, and I operate on the beaches there. I just did a podcast in the last month or so here. I was talking about operating on the high seas. It was funny that we kind of come up with this theme, and I started wondering, like, man, what are we talking about? Are we doing this again? And really, mine was all about using it on a cruise ship.
Yes, that was good.
And discussing that and what the ability to be able to do that was. And I guess I'm not going to give it all the information. I'll encourage people to go out and listen to my podcast, the Ham Radio Guy. I'll put a quick plug in for me on that one, but it's a little bit more difficult than you think it is. There's a lot of steps and things you have to do to make that happen. I ultimately am going on a cruise again to Alaska. Hopefully this time, and there's no COVID involved. It won't get canceled, but in next June. And so I'm cruising to Alaska. So I'm taking my 705 with me, kind of prepping that to get ready to be. Hopefully I can operate in some digital modes because I can obviously get through a lot easier up there, but I'm going to have to deal with a lot with water and the glaciers and things. And so I'm really not sure how that's all going to play out when I'm up there. And then if I'm only got 10 watts from my 705 to use, I'm rethinking my thought process and whether I just want to take a 100-watt radio and be able to operate up there somehow. At that point, I'm hoping to find a POTA park I can get into when I'm, on land for one of the stops. But I've also operated by some other, when I've been in Wisconsin, I've operated by some lakes and some the river there, the Mississippi River. And I've always had pretty good luck. And there's a lot of, in parts of Wisconsin, there's a lot of backwaters of the Mississippi. And so I'm literally up on the road portion of it. but I have always had really good luck there too. So I've always kind of thought that the freshwater there would be, but I've always had pretty good luck with that. And I was kind of wondering if I had some reflectivity, or maybe some of that water was being part of my plane. But I was just operating with a dipole at that point, or or it might have been a Wolf River coil. I think I've used one each time I've done that. But my interesting thing will be really more when I get back next June, how well I can make that work. And if anybody has any thoughts or ideas on operating in Alaska and how that's going to be from up there, I'm certainly open to exploring that option too.
Where in
you
Alaska
will be
you
the
going?
DX, man. If you can get 100 watts, if you can get an 891 up there, do it. But if you got the 705, make it happen. That's awesome.
That's one thing that we're doing more like
logbook for with a stroke, whatever, and let everybody know you're going to log them as Alaska, and you will have the biggest pile up you've ever had.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm just not sure I can do. I'm not sure how much I can do on 10 watts.
Yeah. No one will confirm my Alaska contacts. It pisses me off. I think Alaska and maybe Rhode Island. I don't know. I need like 2 states to finish off the, worked all states. So maybe I'll just log myself.
Marvin, I'll put you in touch with Kale 7EC. Why am I forgetting his name? We had him on. Yeah, Jeremy. We had Jeremy on the podcast, and he's done some awesome stuff. But he could give you some really good pointers on when and to operate and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll send you his contact info.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. I'll reach out to him for sure. That'd be a great resource to be able to have when I'm doing that. So we'll kind of see how that whole journey comes out. Next spring. So next summer.
Marvin, if I could give you some something that you'll have fun with while you're on the cruise ship. Obviously we all know you can't operate on a cruise ship without the captain's permission and all the problems you have there. One thing I've done, because I've done a lot of time at sea on U.S. Navy ships, is I take a little ultralight medium wave / shortwave radio with me and go up on the deck at night or in the evenings when I'm not working or whatever and do some just listening. I think you will find up that high listening on, say, like medium wave over there. I guarantee you will be able to listen to some most incredible, you'll be amazed. It'll turn you into a medium wave DXer if you go out on the deck and listen. When you're out in the middle of salt water with nothing around you, I honestly think you could probably pick up AM stations and, like I did when I was in Hawaii, Tonga, the New Zealand or whatever. You'll be able to do that on the deck of that ship while you're cruising. That's something.
Yeah, if we remember the old TV antenna, the white antenna TV splitter used to have. Yeah. I've got an antenna similar to that just sits on a little tripod. You can get them off Amazon for like $20. And I'm kind of using that for a little bit of listening here and there. And I'm thinking about taking that with me because it takes nothing to pack it. So.
And it takes nothing to listen either. You don't have to worry about no stress. No one can say anything to you. You're just listening to the radio. And it's kind of, as a radio guy, it's kind of fun to listen. You listen to. So I'd highly recommend.
Thank you for the tip. Yeah.
They're like a little, little cheap,
Oh, sure.
Well, that's where I love my county comm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my affiliates. So absolutely.
Yeah, if you've got a county comm radio, take that with you. It's light, it's small, it's packable, and it's got great receive.
Absolutely, that's a great. I have the Texan version of the radio. If you're talking about the long, the county. Yeah, I've got both the SSB and just the AM alone. I can't remember the numbers. I'm a couple beers deep now. Numbers don't.
Oh yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know what was so cool about that is you have the ferrite antenna that you can turn and bring.
Yeah.
And you got that silicone cover too. That's nice. Is that good? You like that?
I love it.
Oh man, I got to get for mine.
What he said, Marvin. What he said. Take that on the ship with you. You'll enjoy it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. Like I said, their county comms is one of my affiliates, so absolutely, I'll look into that.
Very cool. Very cool. Has one of the things I'm just curious if anyone in the group has experience with marshes and swamps, because I know when you're talking about like the salinity, the Siemens or whatever the unit is we're measuring, that swamps, marshes can sometimes have not quite salt water levels, but much better than the freshwater levels. And I know I've done some podas and stuff by swamps. Nothing's, jumped out as me like where I've noticed like, oh my gosh, I'm getting out like crazy now. But what do you guys, any experience operating on right on swamps or anything like that?
Quite a few. Like, so I usually head down to like Rhode Island or just down to Western Mass, and there's a lot of like that, typical marshland and whatnot, and especially like even actually more towards like the Cape area where like cranberry bogs are and stuff like that. You get a lot of that. My biggest problem has always just been mosquitoes, and that's not so much even having to do with the RF. They literally probably could carry the antenna away, but I haven't seen much advantage over say a marsh versus just running straight like either at the beach or off a lake. I mean, I've run a lot of verticals, and so I haven't played much in the space of trying to like coordinate or direct verticals or the ground radials to see if I get one area or another better in terms of it. But I got to go back and revisit some of the POTA parks that I've done that I know have like those similar marshlands and try to tweak them a bit to see if I can get something a little bit more out of them.
Hey, Eric, are you familiar? Everyone in New England probably is familiar with WBZ AM, their AM station. Okay, and they're in Hull. They have a directional antenna that's in Hull, Massachusetts, and it's on the marsh. And it sits right on the marsh there in Hull. If you go to the Internet Archive, there are receptions that people recorded of them in the Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, or whatever, and it's sitting on top of a marsh. So now I'm going to go kind of nerd on you. The brackish water, fresh water, a cubic foot of fresh water weighs 64 pounds. A cubic foot of pure salt water weighs 62.4 pounds. So brackish water, I know this from I work in naval architecture, the amount of buoyancy on a boat, it's kind of the same way with a radio signal. So a marsh is going to maybe not like 10 dB gain, but if you're still coming down, you're going to get 7, 6, 5. You know what I mean? It's all about the amount of salinity in the water itself, Mike. So it's kind of the same principle as far as what we do in naval architecture when we build a boat. We're trying to keep it afloat. It's just a freshwater boat's different than a saltwater boat, but a brackish water, as we call it, it's the same deal. So yeah, I think there's some amazing gain if you can't get out on the beach. If you can get in a salt marsh, I'm sure it's still I'm speaking from experience. I've done it before. Yeah, salt marshes are amazing.
Yeah, I never thought about the difference with the boats, like you were saying. It makes sense. I never thought about it with salt versus
the reason
water.
I know that, and I'm so on that, is because I worked for a company that designed a boat that was built in Wisconsin, and it came out of the Great Lakes through the St. Lawrence Seaway and then out into the ocean. And we knew that it was going to, although it sat lower in the water here, it's going to sit higher in the water there. You know what I mean? So we, something that as a hull designer of ships, I understand that principle of the difference in salt water and fresh water as far as buoyancy. But it's funny, I kind of carry that over into what I do on my radio channel. There is, as the salinity goes up, the signal goes up. It's kind of that simple.
Interesting.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool.
Sorry to nerd out on you, but
no, that's what we're all a bunch of nerds. We're all learning from each other at the end of the day,
Oh yeah.
So let's. I got a quick question, or actually, it's something more to. I asked it, and I think other than Walt and Chris, has anyone else made the simplex contacts on the boat, or not?
No.
No.
I was unless this is one tip for those and I know that we probably have more bowfangs, whatever you want to call them, than we care to admit or whatnot. But at the end of the day, I'll say this: last year we did a family vacation in the Finger Lakes, multi-family vacation. I went through. I got my state boater safety course, so I got my New York State boating license, and I didn't need it at the time. I'm grandfathered in, but I wouldn't be for long. So I got it, was bringing the kids tubing and everything, but I took a couple of, I was like, because they're easy to program out of band, and just in case of emergency, if you're on the water, it's great. There's probably a couple maritime stations that you're going to want to put in there and stuff, but that was my only contact, was when I was testing out the boat and the Bowfangs. My oldest son has his General, so he had one of the HTs back at the dock, and I brought the boat out for a spin and at least did a simplex contact on 5.2. I wasn't going out of band on the Bowfang, on the maritime bands and stuff, but that's like a simple thing. And if you're by water or not, then if you don't have any of those channels programmed in your HT, at least for receive, and you got some space, that's a simple thing that you can do on the water. And look at those are all available easily in Chirp and stuff. Just drop a couple of those in, and add them to your scan list and stuff like that if you're on the water. And listen, you might hear some interesting activity, or who knows. So
I'll tell you a little trick that we used to do, Mike. My dad grew up on the water, and we always would go out fishing on the boat. We go out into Chesapeake Bay, and at where the Chesapeake Bay goes into the Atlantic Ocean, if people are familiar, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. And there's 4 islands, an island at each where the tunnel goes down and comes back up, right? And they're great fishing spots. And I remember being kind of young, and we were out in my dad's boat, and you always keep the VHF on 16, because that's where everything happens. Like emergency.
Yep.
Or get on and say, hey, whatever, your friend's boat is called the Salty Dog. Hey, Salty Dog, go to 23, and then they go to 23. You just come. It's the calling frequency, right? And there was frequency on the Chesapeake Bay. I can't remember what channel it was. We'll just call it 25 for now. I remember one time we were like on the second island at the Chesapeake Bay, and we were just slaying it, man. We were rolling in like cobia or trout or whatever. And my dad said, everyone's going to see us here. Get on VHF 16 and tell everybody go to 25 for a fishing report. And I did. This is my dad's boat was called the Half Moon fishing report. Go to 25, and I go to 25. My dad goes, now tell them you're on the 4th island. We were on the 2nd island, right? He goes, fishing report, 4th island. We're killing it, cobia, blah blah blah. And we watched all the boats that were coming at us start turning.
Nice, Chris. I know you were trying to jump in there.
A little delay.
Yep.
He'll get there.
You gotta get Starlink.
Keep in thought.
Yeah, I don't know how my. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
You're good. Yep.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I had a question for Walt. You've been talking about salt water and the benefits of being on the ocean. How do you think that would compare to being on salt land, such as the Bonneville Salt Flats out in Utah or something?
Yeah. I want to find out. There's one video, you know what, I watched. That's a great question, because I want to find out for myself. I don't know yet. I watched a couple that went out. They weren't ham tubers, but they were hams, and they do other stuff. And I've been like trying to figure this out. And I watched them, and they go out on the Bonneville Salt Flats, and they put up a sloping NFET halfwave. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't want to criticize them or whatever. It was a crap antenna or whatever. And they go, hey, this doesn't work, whatever. I'd like to go out on the Bonneville Salt Flats and drive a stake in the ground, put a vertical up, and lay a counterpart, lay some a good ground plane underneath it. My gut feeling is it would be awesome. I want to try that. I also want to do that at Salt Lake in Utah. I'd like to try that as well.
So I would love to go out there and do the same thing that I want to do this year for the 160 contest. I want to go to Wells, Maine this year for the 160 sideband contest, and fly a helium blimp and have a vertical right up on the salt water. But I'd love to see that compared to the Bonneville Salt Flats, because it's got the flat terrain that the ocean has. It's got the salt that the ocean has. The only thing it doesn't have is the water, but
Right.
I would think the conductivity would still be there.
I think it would be too. I honestly do. I have that same interest in that, and I'm wondering as well, Chris. I'd like to find that out. Maybe you can beat me to it. You got the vehicle. Get out there and do it.
You know, I haven't been out to Bonneville since 2019. So before I was a ham. And so I'm absolutely down to take that road trip.
Oh yeah.
Sounds like you got a co-pilot there, Chris.
I'll tell you what.
At 9 miles to the gallon.
Take a couple gallons of water with you. Lay your this is kind of what I'm thinking how it would work. Lay 4 or 5 counterpoise out and take a couple, 2 or 3 buckets of water and just pour it over top of each counterpoise wire. So you'll wet each one of them up, because I think that's going to let the wire conduct to the salt. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be amazing. I really do. That's just my gut feeling.
Yeah, I envision in my head someone, you know, Walt's transmitting at the moment, and there's a little kid that's got a gallon of water, keeps constantly running it over the radials all the time, just so, yeah, I'm getting louder.
That's
You know?
Yeah, I got 2 grandsons. I'm going to take them with me out there. I'm going to do that.
Come on, Billy, quit your whining.
More water over there.
I've heard of that being done for AM stations. Is they put out their radials and they'll put salt in the ground before completely burying them.
I'll tell you,
I don't know if it helps or not. But
when I was in Poland, I was working on I can say this now because I've turned my clearance back in and deactivated it. I was working in a missile site for NATO, and we had I don't know if you're familiar with 18 Echo. They're the comms guys for Delta, and you know you know who 18 Echo is. So me being the nerd, I'm not these 18 Echo guys have all this crap going on and wires, whatever. I go, hey man, I'm a ham. I want to talk to you guys or whatever. And so we like made a friendship, and then we're out in a Polish bar drinking one night, and I'm asking them about the coolest thing they ever did. They said that during like in Afghanistan and over in Iraq, when they were like trying to make HF comms that were not NBIS, when they were trying to make big time things, they would lay their counterpoise out in the sand, and they would like they'd all be drinking a lot of water or whatever. They would urinate all the way down
Nice.
counterpoise wires, and because that was how they would make the counterpoise wires conduct with the ground, was they just
the power of P.
Let's like you know, caveat that we are not condoning that hams in public parks, you know, lay out radials and urinate all over.
No, but that's what gives me the idea of going to Bonneville Salt Flats with a bucket of water and doing it. You know, you gotta use that you know, you gotta wet that thing somehow. You know what I mean? These guys are like, these guys got bullets flying at them. The only way they got to transport water is their bladder. You know what I mean? So that's how they're doing it. But these guys I learned from them. You know what I mean? That's what made me think about Bonneville. You know, we were talking about it. I think, you know, just laying a counterpoise on top of salt, it's not what it's all about. You got to somehow make them conduct, and I think fluid does it, and that's what really makes salt water so amazing as well.
Well, if you want to keep in touch with the 18 Echo guys that are into ham radio, let me tell you, Flag and Torch Society.
Yeah.
There's a Discord and everything. It's all online, but it's all military and veterans, and yeah, those guys, most of them are still active duty, and they're doing amazing 18 Echo stuff.
They're amazing. I tell you something else too, off the record, although there's a lot of people watching. Don't try to keep up with them when you're in a bar.
You will lose.
Good dudes, cool. Really good dudes, man. I tell you what, we're blessed that we have guys like that protect us. We really are.
Mm-hmm.
Amen to that.
Definitely.
Now, Walt, you asked me before the stream about my service. I assume you served as well.
No, I've been I've been a civilian contractor for DoD and NATO my entire career. I went over for Desert Storm. As a matter of fact, in 1983, I went to Beirut. I flew into Beirut on a Navy RH-53D right after the BAQ bombing, and just kind of, this is a hard reality. I was young. I was 22 years old on a Navy helicopter full of body bags when we went over that. That was, you want to talk about growing up really quick. Did that as a civilian. Desert Storm went over for that and came back. We were part of the crew that when they were loading the Bradleys and the Hummers off and on the ships, I was part of the guys that was calculating the stability of the ship to get them on. I was on site loading that as whatever. I'll tell you a war story, kind of one of the craziest things that ever happened to me. We were on a German roll-on, roll-off container vessel full of Bradleys and tanks. And as we were coming through the Suez Canal, the captain on the ship, me and the guy I was with, the two engineers, we knew we were had to get down the Jacob's ladder off the ship and land. You know, we were lightweight. We had our backpacks with us, with all our stuff in the back. He radioed. They were coming out of Suez, getting ready to go into the Mediterranean, and he radioed. This was 1991. Radios the sea pilots to bring a boat out to get the two Americans and take us back into port. And so he goes, they're going to be here in like 5 minutes. So me and my buddy got all our stuff strapped on, and we go down. We see this boat pull up beside us, like a launch boat. And the captain of this German ship goes, that's them, go down. So we come down the ladder, we jump in the boat, and now we're in the boat and we take off. And I'm looking at my buddy and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at these guys, and I was like, I just felt it, like there's something not right. So it's like we're looking at the town we're supposed to go in, and the boat just kind of goes in a different direction, and it kind of comes up on this like little pier and like off the beaten path. And we get out, and I'm like, I guess this is customs and immigrations. I don't know what's going on here. We're in Egypt. And so we get out, and the guys, we walk in the room, they shut the doors, and they make us throw our bags on the ground. And the guys goes, empty bag. So I like emptied it out, and they grabbed my bag and he dumped it on the floor. And these guys, I looked around the room, and I looked over at these two guys in the corner, and they got AKs. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. You know what I mean? So they go through our bags, and the guy comes up and he goes, cigarettes. Where are your cigarettes? About that time, the door bust open, and it's the Egyptian like port patrol police or whatever, and they go, you get your stuff and come with us. So I throw it all in the bag. We get into like the van with the port patrol, and he goes, you guys just got pirated, man. They were listening on the radio and heard you guys were Americans.
Oh my
God.
gosh.
That captain should have never said you were Americans, and they grabbed you guys. He goes, it's a good thing that the boat that was coming to get you notified us that what had happened, because we know who these guys are. They're bad guys, and they took us out of there. So that was my civilian war story, and probably I still to this day sometimes like oh, thank you God, I'm still alive. You know what I mean?
That's a wild story.
Yeah. So that was
wow.
Getting back to the original thing, I'm a civilian, but I've always been a DoD civilian field engineer. So I always go where it's going on, but as a civilian. Never, ever had a gun. I'm not a hero. I'm just I'm just a pencil neck geek engineer that had heroes around me. You know what I mean? Everywhere I was at.
Well, I'm no hero either. I'm just a dumb grunt. So give me a rifle and a rucksack. Send me on my way.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thanks for service, man. You probably, there's guys like me that you have helped, I'm sure. So but I appreciate it.
And it's guys like Walt that keep you all afloat. So we need you all.
I don't know, Mike. AM's alive and well, man.
Are you listening? Are you hearing Gray Man or anything else, or what are you doing there?
Well, Chris had mentioned in the private side of the chat that AM was quite busy here, so I figured I'd just poke over here and see what's going on. But haven't turned the audio on yet here, so I didn't want to kill anybody. Let's see what's going on here.
Oh, it looks like somebody's tuning.
I don't know if anyone's made AM contacts live on stream. I've done AM I've done AM live streams before, but that's different because I was actually the guy out in the park, but I don't know if anyone's out there activating on it.
KSOJD, Jeff. Yeah, you're correct. I typically work for a commander or a captain when I'm
probably bumped it up about 15 dB on the processing. So yeah,
you guys hear that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Swapwood 200.
Literally AM.
Sold by a guy named Ken Warren, who
So what frequency are you listening in on?
7295, where Grayman was.
Okay.
He was pretty big in the audio processing for
Yeah.
broadcast.
I have done some 40 meter AM below 7.2 a couple times. I know that they like to keep the AM up at, you know, like around the 8.5, 8.6, 9.0 section. But I've done it down low before a couple times and stuff. But I got to try that again sometime late at night and see how it works when it comes to
Definitely love
low.
it. I won't try it, but all right. There we go. Shuffle you guys back.
Yeah, I think we were looking for was the news layout.
Yeah, you know, I'm a noob when it comes to. There's my problem. Is like I run the host of Livery and Ham, and all the other guys do all the fancy stuff in the background, including Paul. So he knows all the buttons. I'm just like a lost soul.
We're all a bunch of amateurs.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, I have a question for you when it comes to sand. And I've only operated on beaches a couple times and stuff. So when it comes to sand, do you have issues with it? Like when you got your coax on the sand and, you know, does it collect sand? Do you have to do it? You know, it's as simple as shaking it off or wiping it off before you put it away in the bucket, or what do you got to do to like try to mitigate any issues with sand getting into the radios, getting into the connectors, things like that?
Good question. I always try to, like, if this is a belt, but let's just say I disconnect the coax and take it off. You definitely, okay. I've had it happen and fall in sand, you blow it out or whatever. But what I normally do, if the coax has been on the beach, is like take your hand and just kind of, you know, do one of those with it. They're going through, get the sand off, you know, and then roll it up. I'll be honest with you. Everything I own, ham radio, there's some sand in it or on it or whatever somewhere. It's like my G90, which is out in the Jeep, but that thing is just like, looks like it's, I guarantee you right now I could disassemble that G90 and have about a quarter cup of sand come out of it. It's just there's no way around it. It is what it is. You know, it's like, I can't believe that radio's lasted as long as it has for me. I really can't. That's one of the things. I know I always praise that radio or whatever. Mm-hmm. People talk about cheap Chinese junk, but that thing's a tank, man. It really is. It's just, it's flown across the Atlantic, 5 times, across the Pacific. It's been all over with me. It's been on beaches. I've dropped it. It's been wet. It's done everything. It still freaking works. It's a great little radio.
Hey, tech tip. Oh, sorry. Tech tip, right? As long as you've got no power or anything connected, you can actually run your electronics through the dishwasher. And when they're fully dried out, they are clean and great, and it's good.
Has anybody, Mike? I don't know if you have. Do you have my QSL card? I don't know if I want to show you. I'm gonna get to the reason why. This activation never happened. This activation never happened. If you see the antenna here, I had it hooked. I had it. This is the beach is called Sandbridge, Virginia Beach. So about 2 miles that way is the North Carolina border, and this is the beginning of the Outer Banks, which is in Virginia. So I love the picture. I love what was going on. It was early morning. I had this antenna hooked up with, like, right over here was a lawn chair with my true SDX, right? So out of the blue, I don't know what happened, but the biggest wave I had ever seen at Virginia Beach rose. Woof.
It was this big.
I didn't care about the antenna or anything else, but I had just gotten the true SDX. But like you said, it wasn't powered or anything. I ran and grabbed that thing, right, and like lifted it up. It was soaking wet. I took it home like everybody does with their cell phones and just buried it in rice. Took it out the next day, fired it up. Made contacts. It was like it never happened. Yeah.
So 2 things, Mike, to answer your question about how to get rid of sand. One that I picked up from my wife, and actually before I go there, Paul, this is what I have to say to you.
Emotional damage.
Not sticking my, radios in the dishwasher whatsoever, nor am I washing them by hand.
No.
2, if you ever want to get rid of sand off of stuff, if you ever go like there's a baby beach wipe or something like that moms carry when they take their kids to the beach and they wipe their feet off. Those things work phenomenally great to be able to get standoff antenna, wires and stuff like that and cables, because when I did the 7 Park Grove, I just ran those through all my coax and stripped all the sand off of it, and everything was good. As for keeping sand out of coax connectors and stuff, I usually have a can of compressed air in my truck for work related stuff, but that usually tends to blow that stuff out pretty quick. Otherwise, once it dries, it starts to cause some major problems, with your connectors and stuff. So better to get it out sooner than later.
I'd imagine that's the one time that Vaseline would not come in handy.
I knew that.
Probably not.
I like how you did that in a G-rated thing too. I knew the Vaseline thing.
Well, I'm sure Lloyd Callum would not be bringing it to the beach, but
That's funny.
Oh, and Matt, you got to scoot a little bit, so we should just give you a couple minutes to say.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll let you have the floor and say goodbyes and let you know what's going on with your channel and the Reliance there. But so what Walt? So you're not a 100-watt barefoot guy at all? I mean, you're just QRP most of the time, right?
Yeah, I bought an FT891 and used it 4 or 5 times and got rid of it. I just love 20 watts. So I'm a 20. I'm not a QRP guy. I'm a 20. I got a friend that calls me 20-watt Wally. That's who I am. I just love 20 watts. That's all you need for battery, for everything. The difference between 20 watts and 100 watts is there's not a whole lot of juice for the squeeze. You know what I'm saying? It's worth it to just operate, especially for me. I have the advantage over so many people being by salt water. So 20 watt, I'm a 20-watt guy.
Okay. All right. Hey, how is everybody else in the group? Are most of you guys low power guys, or are you guys more of 100 watters?
More power. Always more power.
More power. I started operating my 705 a little bit more, but still fairly new into that one. So when I have done it, it seems like I have to go back to 100 watts anyway to get enough contacts to get out. I was up on Mount Tom in Massachusetts this past weekend, and I was trying to use 10 watts and wasn't making any contacts, and had to bump it up to 100 with another radio to make it work to get the activation.
I jokingly say that I'm QR by, like I go between low power and high power, like
I'm stealing that for a t-shirt, Mike. Sorry.
And the get up is the costume's probably not helping things, but like I'm not going to be defined by like power and bands or this or that. I'm going to be on the high bands, low bands. I'm going to be low power, high power. But the G90 was my first radio. And so operating with low power and with low cost allowed me to experiment, and it gave me the ability to buy better coax, to try different antennas, because I had a great tuner and all this other stuff. And that's how I learned. Now, my regret is selling it, but I have the 705 and the 7300 now. So I go between the two. Some of it's convenience. Some of it's like, I just want more power and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and stuff like for an activation.
All right, Mike, enough with that. This is a family show. Come on.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like it's, you can learn a lot by operating with lower power. It can help out a lot, but at the same time, it can certainly be frustrating too, at times, depending on the situation. So
I honestly think the QRP is frustrating for a beginner. 20 watts is where every beginner should start. I think it's the ultimate on ramp to the highway of ham radio to me. I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, how about, I know you, Matt, you're a 100 watt guy, but you've dabbled with the FX4CR a little bit, right?
Yeah, I like the QRP, and when I run the 891 for portable ops, I usually turn it down to like 30 or 50 watts, at the most 50. But yeah, with a great antenna, you can run low power. I mean, you have a nice resonant one, or get it up high enough where your location is key, and that's all you need. But yeah, I love my FX4CR, and I just got. Oh, hang on.
So where can I find a good antenna?
This back.
Your background's killing it.
FX4CR. Oh, there's my cell phone number. Never mind.
We didn't catch it, so it's okay.
You can't see it.
That's, I got my TX 500 back. It's been in repair for about a year. Oop, let me see. I'll switch.
Yep.
Cover up the
Background's
number.
Still killing it. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Is that the Lab 500?
Yep, Lab 500. It was in repair for about a year and a half, and I'm going to make a YouTube video about my saga with that very shortly. The guy in Nevada got unfortunately really ill, and the Roman over there in Russia said, I'm going to have it shipped over from Nevada to Dubai. I'm like, wait, what? It's going on vacation? And Dubai had it for about 2 to 3 weeks. And they go, where are we sending this? I'm like, wait, it's done? Holy moly, I can play with it. So they shipped it back. Actually, it came that Thursday when I was up in Massachusetts for Ham Exposition. So now I just got to find time to play with it. Maybe tomorrow on the Susquehanna River, since we're talking about, on the air near the water. So I'll bring it along with me, and maybe I'll, christen it again, activating a park, which is right there near the XYL's mother's house. So I'm going to be trying that out tomorrow.
I know the Susquehanna very well. I lived in Binghamton for a decade, so
nice.
Went to grad school down there. So, yep.
I've had a few Jennies in Binghamton myself. My son played hockey, so I remember going up there when they were playing like the Binghamton Senators or something. I remember that. Hey, yep.
You and I could have very well been at the same game at some point, which is hilarious to think about. I used to go to B-Sens games all the time. Yeah. My wife and I.
Or my son was a Flyers product, and I hated the Flyers my entire life. And then until he put that beautiful Flyers jersey on, and I was like, I'm ready to get the tattoo, baby.
Nice.
Go Flyers.
Yeah. He's not a Flyer anymore, so I don't care.
Yep. Well said.
Well, hey, I know it's like a little past 8:30 there, Matt. I don't know if you want to just let know what folks are going on, and give us an update on Reliance, and we'll let you jump out here so you can hit the road.
Like I said, I got to be in Harrisburg. I'm going to leave in about a 2-hour trip, so I'm going to be heading out right now and pick up the little one from Grandma and Grandpa's, and then head on out and drive up to see Mom. So with Reliance Antennas started to come out with those new white cases. Keep an eye on the website. And ironically and sadly, due to what's going on over with Russia and Ukraine, I'm getting a lot of requests for web SDR or just listening antennas. And they're similar to the ones I make. You can make a 9-to-1 or a 16-to-1, but you need a bleeder resistor. So since you have it up on there a lot and you want to listen even through storms, it'll bleed off any of that, surging of power to the ground. So a lot of people are looking for shortwave listening only antennas lately. I've been getting lots of emails on that. So I will be doing that. A little different than ham radio, but it's great to listen and, see what's out there. But sign of the times, I guess. But thank you guys. And R73, everyone.
Roger. Rocky plank and head on to the dark seas.
If you guys are on for another 2 hours, I'll keep listening in the car. Take care. Good night, everyone. 7-3.
That might be history in the making. We might be HRCC and Ham Radio Clubhouse.
Take care. Good night, guys. Good night, everyone in chat.
Good night, brother.
That would make an interesting video, though. I don't know much about listening and receive antennas for shortwave and that, like he was talking about. I just bought that's interesting. That might be interesting.
I just bought. You talking about receiving antennas? I just bought this for.
Okay.
It's HX data. I got
like a glass mount.
No, I got another one just like it. I was gonna do a video on HX data. They sent me a radio. I was gonna do a video on it. I figured I'd get their antenna instead. It's just like, basically, it's like a, just almost like a tape measure, just a wire. You know what I mean? That you can. This was my other one that I've used before. This is a Sangean, but you can clip it onto something and just let it hang and run it. With receive wire length, it's not as crucial as like transmitting. So just getting a wire in the air and listening. So yeah, it's kind of funny he said that, because I just got this a couple days ago, because HX data, which I don't do a whole lot of reviews on. I already had this radio. As a matter of fact, it's over here. And they contacted me and said, "Hey, would you like to do a video on the on this radio. I go, I already have it. They go, well, send you a brand new one. I'm like, hey, send me a brand new one. You know,
Have two.
Giveaway.
giveaway. But I kind of wanted. I think they heard me in one of my videos. I said I wanted to start doing a little bit more medium wave and short wave, you know, receiving type stuff. And like a minute later, boom, I get an email. Hey, so that's flattering. If someone's listening, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Tigu sure isn't listening. I've only sold like 1,000 of their radios. They won't give me jack.
Focus.
That first antenna looked a lot like the chalk line one.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's the same thing. It's just it reels in. It's like a chalk line one. You pull it out. You pull it out and then you just like reel it back in. It's almost a tape measure, you know what I mean? It's just got a wire with a little 1/8 inch, 3 millimeter, 3.5 millimeter mono jack that jacks into the radio. That's all they are. They work though. They work great for shortwave listening. I've used them forever.
Nice.
You have definitely sold a ton of G90s for sure, Walt. I am I am absolutely positive you have. It kills me sometimes to think that Zygu or Radiodity or any of that haven't reached out to you to do more, especially with, you know, you get that, was it the 6200 that's out now, and yeah.
It just kills me. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe I asked myself, are you just like, are you full of yourself or you're just egotistical, whatever? Then I looked through all my messages. I've got like hundreds of people go, I bought the G90 because of you. I bought the G90 because of you. And I sent all those to Radiodity. Go, hey guys, put me on your list. I want to test your stuff. I want to do this, whatever. And then I see, you know, Mike get this is a couple years ago, gets the G106 and he like pretends it's dog crap and talks crap. I'm like, oh my God, guys, if you give it to somebody that's a user, and I say Mike, the other Mike, you know what I'm talking about, Mike.
Too many mics and ham radio.
Yeah.
And Jason's. Thank God I'm an Eric.
Yeah, exactly. But I see these guys, and then what really irks me right now is like, you know, I got no shame in it. I'll tell you, I follow a ton of 11 meter people. I enjoy watching them, and I see all these people get like this QT80 with 15 to 10, and here I am, you know, the ham that can use it on 15, 12, and 10, and I'm not getting jack whatever from them. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I'm done with you guys. I know I did a rant on that not too long ago, but I will tell you this. I'll put this out there now. We're an hour and half into it, so you know, people. Goitech just contacted me and they're sending me that PMR 171, so I'm going to try that. I don't know if you've seen that radio. It's a field radio. It looks like a military radio.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, I think I might have seen it on the website when I was looking up some stats on the one that you got now, but no, that's neat.
They contact
when you're done with it, feel free to send it this way.
Yeah,
for another review.
I watched some stuff on it, and it might I hate to say this, but I had been all the way back to when I first got the FX4CR. I have been looking for the G90 killer forever. I want a 20 watt radio with a tuner in it that'll just put my G90 on the shelf. And
that might be the 1F.
Maybe I can't find it. I can't. I've been looking hard and I can't find it. Maybe that PMR 171 is the radio. I don't know, but Goitech, the maker of this Q900, is going to send it to me, so we'll see. I had a really good experience with this radio today with the internal battery. I went out on the beach with it, and I worked DX into Europe. The problem with this is the sound. It's horrible sound. I use an external speaker, but I finally got the ATU working pretty good on it. The problem I did, the first video I did on it was I pulled it out of the box, plugged it in, and hooked it up, and you know, my dumb butt didn't understand what I was doing. You know what I mean? I didn't understand the menu and all that stuff. So that, shame on me for that. But that little radio is growing on me. It really is. It's not great. It's not a perfect radio, but would almost say buy it over the FX4CR. I think it's a little bit better than that radio.
Now, is your primary modes digital single sideband or CW?
I'm 1000% SSB.
Okay.
All day, every day. That's all I do. I mean, Marconi Marconi gave his life trying to make the human voice go across the radio.
See, Paul, I told you. It's a closet FD8 person over there in the corner, Mr. N1OG, for the longest time. Would not talk on, sidebed whatsoever. Now that's all he does.
I just don't get it. Like from the beginning of the history of radio, all they were trying to do was be able to get the human voice over a radio signal, and now all we're trying to do is get the human voice off of it. It's like, come on, man. It's like,
all right, now, Walt, I've been tossing around the idea of the FX4CR, and I borrowed Eric's, and I loved it, but I hated the price point. I think it's priced a little too high. So that other radio that you're using that you said might be better, what is that for price point?
I paid about the same. I paid $550 on AliExpress. The difference is now I had the FX4CR and I liked it. I'm not going to be the FX4CR sounded with that little tiny speaker on it, sounded almost as good as the G90. It really was a good sounding audio. If you want to go back through my videos, I left my G90. I used to work in Poland. I would spend 2 months in Poland, a month back in the States, and then 2 months in Poland. I was rotating, right? So one of my trips to Poland, I said, you know what? I'm not taking the G90 this time. I'm going to take the FX4CR and make myself get familiar with the radio. I loved it, man. I worked long path to Australia with it. It was a great little radio. It was really good. It got very warm very quick. It scared me. It never had a problem.
Never shut off. Yep.
But never had a problem with it. But I'll tell you what, it was a warm little radio.
It definitely gets warm.
Yeah, it didn't have the tuner on it. It didn't have an HEU. But it was a good radio. The problem I've seen, because I'm in all the groups, I sold mine about 3 or 4 months ago, and because I never used it. The problem I had with it is that it took me almost 2.5, 3 months to get it. You got to get on a waiting list and wait for it. And the production, the guy that builds them, he builds each one by himself, hand built. Once you get it, you got a great little radio, but it just takes forever. And I got this in 10 days on AliExpress. So the Q900. Don't go buy this yet, though. Look at that PMR 171. They're a little bit more expensive too, and that thing's got, from what I understand, bigger. The problem I have with this radio too, no VFO knob. You got to like up and down.
Yeah, that's my frustration with that radio. Like it's just no knobs whatsoever.
The 171 is basically the guts of this radio in a bigger form factor with a VFO knob. So
nice.
And a battery and a bigger battery. This battery internal on this is only 8 volts and can only do 10 watts. I did it today and it worked great for 10 watts, but the 171 has a 7 amp hour battery that clips on the back and you can get the full 20 watts out of it.
So basically when all else fails, just get a G90.
Yeah. Just go buy it. Do you have a G90?
No. Like that was kind of one of my radios when I first was starting to look. And then I kind of was like, I'm just going to get the 891 because I just didn't want to run into this limitation of not, having enough power or whatever. And so I love my 891 enough that I have 2 of them now. And, I have the FX4CR too as well. And I haven't played with it enough, but my FX4CR is kind of like more for my, like, I go to the beach with my family. I can play radio and play quietly where I don't have to worry about, putting up a huge antenna or having a huge radio or, space or whatever. So that's kind of the benefit to that small size.
It's a matter of, I'm in the middle of editing the video I did today. I brought up the fact that I compared that to the FX4CR. I also said in the video, you'll be out tomorrow, that it's not a G90 built beater. So getting back to the G90, you can't go wrong with the G90. That thing is it's probably the best 20 watt radio ever built. It really is. It's a good radio.
For what you get out of it, you're getting good parts and a good start. And that's like where I recommend a lot of guys. Like if you can't afford 600 plus for 100 watt mobile radio or HF radio, then the G90 is the next best thing. And I've always told folks, hey, go for the G90 if you can't afford more than like 4 and a quarter, and you won't be disappointed because as long as you have a good resonant antenna, or even if you don't have a good resonant antenna, I mean, you can freaking put a wet noodle on the end of the thing and it will tune.
Just press the magic button on the G90. Yeah. You can do anything.
Yeah. And one of the things too to point out too, like, and I mentioned earlier, G90, that was my first radio. Yes, I sold it and I regret it, but I I saved money getting started in the hobby. I got to purchase the things that I need and experiment because I had, that extra money. But your first radio is never going to be your only radio, and you're always going to get more and get more and get more. And if you grow out of the G90, then whether you go to an 891, you go to a 710 or whatever it is, you have now a radio that is very portable for travel. Whether you're flying somewhere on vacation, you're hitting the road for work, whatever it is, if you do POTA, you do SOTA, it's a very packable radio. And so, and you could even do a mobile install, permanent or semi-permanent, with a G90, in your ride, when you graduate into something that's 100 watts and is going to be more of a traditional base station radio. So it's definitely a good start for the money. You get a lot of value with it for sure.
Guys, I'm going to pause for a second and go get a cold beer. I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So I would agree with you, Mike, in terms of the G9. Like, I will buy more G90s than I would buy a 710 field radio. I'm sorry, Yezu, you don't get the field moniker and claim that it's a field radio. It is not. Like, it's carrying a DX10 out to the bench. I'm like, you don't go out to the park with your DX10 unless you like have a good rail system on it and a whole bunch of other things, because it's an investment. The G90, you can get you can put plastic rail, 3D printed plastic rails onto it if you didn't, use the ones that were on it or whatever. And you wouldn't worry about, it spilling and doing the Shane topple over 7300 incident of 2022 or something like that, and so, that's kind of like the thing I'm looking at is like, yeah, G90, it's a great beater radio. I hate to call it a beater radio because it's not a beater radio, but it could take a beating. I mean, we've seen Kevin K4OGO. I mean, he drags his out in the middle of nowhere, hooks some shovels to them, and they work wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's certainly good. If we're praising it, so like the couple knocks that I would have on the G90 is you don't have that sound card, so that's another $100, or it's some frustration. I've built this, the interface with the CE19 that it comes with, which it looked like crap. It worked, but DigiRig is definitely the way to go. So, but there's a little bit of an investment to make there. If you want to do digital stuff, I did SSB for my first year with the G90, and that's all I did, and it was perfectly fine. The other thing is you're not going to get noise reduction. That's the only other downside too, I think, is the audio. When I pivoted from a G90 to one of the ICOMs, the 705 and the 7300, the audio is definitely, like, notice the noise reduction. And I'm sure, with an 891, I hear a lot of people sing the praises of the noise reduction on the 891 and stuff, that you're going to get, some better audio. But at the end of the day, it's like, the radios are trade-offs just like antennas are. And one of the first compromises that you make is the cost and stuff, and you're not going to get everything in a radio, and if you do get everything in a radio, it's just going to be so.
The 891 frustrated me with the menu system. I don't like the Yaesu menu system. Drove me nuts. I don't want to have to go out in the field and have a piece of paper with me to look at, go down 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, boom, okay, that does that, boom, 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 boom. It's like, it was so hard. I mean, just like I did with this radio, I'm that guy that, like, take it out of the box, power it up, and let's play. You know what I mean? And I'm also a guy that makes drawings and instructions for a living, and I don't even read them. You know what I mean? It's like, but yeah, that's the thing about the 891. 891 is a great radio. I sold mine. I had one for 4 or 5 months and sold it. I mean,
the 891, the menu on that is probably one of the worst menus. But with the Yaesu radios now today, with the 991 and some of the others, and like the 710, the menu structure is a lot easier to go through and deal with than what it is on the 891. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a great radio.
Great radio overall for sure. I keep that in my truck. That's what I run mobile with. I think Eric does too, and a couple other people.
Yeah, I love my 891. I can't tell you, like, the menuing system doesn't bother me because it's just a big long page, and I get why people just hate scrolling. It's like doom scrolling when you're watching Instagram or something like that. But for what it's worth, it's like, if you know where the right spots are to do the right tunes, you can set those and forget them. And 9 times out of 10, I don't ever go back and tweak them, especially if, like, I go from digital to sideband or whatever. It is a challenge if you don't program to, like, quick buttons, but I mean, every radio's got its little quirks, and that's, when I go out to operate on an 891, I barely use the DSP. I don't use the noise blanker unless the bands are really, really noisy. And for all intents and purposes, I just ride the AF gain a little bit here and there, depending on what resonant antenna I'm using. So, and it works fine.
Yeah, I tell you what, my first contact on the beach to Japan was on my 891. I'd never done that with a G90. Nice. There is something to be said about that little extra power and having a better radio. So it is what it is.
Love the 891. I hate the menu.
Mm-hmm.
I
this way,
got good consensus on that then.
30 years ago, we didn't have menus at all. We had to deal with, like, plates and grids, and we had to deal with all of the, ridiculousness of trying to tune right. So, what do we have right to complain on?
We all right now wouldn't be having this conversation at all if somebody would just come out with a radio that was, let's just say, Yaesu, ICOM, Kenwood, or whatever. That was basically the G90 with a small SDR screen with a built-in tuner that it was 100 watts. You
hearing the Flex? Come on, Flex, you hear this. Let's go.
Where's that radio at? You know what I mean? That you could take portable. It was small. That was the size of a CB radio. I would hate to say it, but the 891 is the size of a freaking CB radio, a mobile size radio with a small SDR screen. As you can see the waterfall, because let's be honest, it's 2024. We want to look at the spectrum while we're tuning and go find somebody. 891 doesn't do that, guys. You know what I mean? It's like if I've said this, I don't know how many times. Zygu, if you're listening to me, you got everything in that package. How hard would it be to make that 100-watt radio and take it from $400 to $800? You could double the price and people would still buy it at $800. If there was a G100 that was a 100-watt radio that was as freaking good as the G90, you would kill the market. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah,
come on, Team ICOM.
Yeah, enough of the Team ICOM. I would have to say it'd have to come from one of the big three, because the problem is that a lot of people, when they get into that, like, SDR place, they want a good receiver. Mm-hmm. And the G90 has a decent receiver. I won't discredit it there, but it's not in comparison to, like, a DX10 or a 101 or, Flex or whatever. And so if they could make software be the front and center to that radio, then, dude, you'd have my money tomorrow.
Same here. I mean, I would pay, let's just say Elecraft made that radio. I'd pay $1,500 if they would bring, that's probably cheap for an Elecraft, but you know what I'm saying? That radio right there that I just described, if someone of quality, I don't even say there's nothing wrong with Zygo quality, someone on that other side of the fence where people would buy it, I'll never buy Chinese people or whatever, those guys, maybe that would be Kenwood's venture back.
No, Kenwood is so slow to this game. They're going to be it's going to take them 10 years to catch up to, like, where they are at with all the rest of the other guys. So
right.
People are.
To me, I guess I'm just screaming what I want in a radio. That to me would be the ultimate radio. A G90 that's well built that does 100 watts, and I would, I'm retiring with that radio. That's all I'm going to use.
So it needs to be a 1F looking or 705 looking. It needs to be IPv6 because we do all of our activations on the coast or some near water. And, on top of it, it needs to somehow either have a bolt-on 100-watt amplifier or have 100 watts right out of the box. That's just the three.
100 watts out of the box. Now, I will tell you this. I don't know if it's true or not. It's kind of why I'm flirting with President so much. Reason why, and I bought this one from him and bought the other one. When I was at Dayton, I met with the President guy, and he said, there was alcohol involved, so I don't know if it's true, but he said they're going to put out a multi-band radio that's not just a 10 and a 12. They're going to go 80 to 10, and it's coming soon from President. That might be the radio I'm looking for. I don't know.
Yep. See, what I want, and this is where, and I want to get Chris's take because he's talked a little bit about VHFs too, is I want all band, all mode. And I know Yaesu discontinued the 857, and that was, you know, kind of like an 891, but you're going to get VHF and UHF in there. And I would absolutely love something like a G90 that was 20 watts, you know, with a tuner, even if it's like a 3-to-1 tuner or something, but something that was small, compact, could be used for mobile, portable use, that is all band, all mode, that's a little bit more than the 705 or the new Yaesu radio that's coming out. You know, 10 watts you can still do a lot with and everything, but I'm thinking, you know, something that, you know, is like the new 857 or something that's going to be an all band, all mode, mobile portable radio. And if they can't, you know, do that form factor and give us the display and everything else, you know, with 100 watts, then, you know, 20 or 50 or something, I would absolutely love that. And I'd like to get your take, Chris, real quick too, on some of like the all band, all mode radios and like what you're using when it comes to VHF and above.
Well, everything I'm using in this van for VHF and above is pretty old. I'm using a Yaesu 736, which has the modules that you can do 2 meter, 6 meters, 2 meters, 222, 432, 1296. I wish one of the companies would come out with something like that again, but more newer technology where you could buy the base radio that has 2 meters and 432 in it, and then save up some money and buy the 1296 module or whatever and build on it. That's my pet peeve. It seems like right now you're either buying really old stuff to get all these bands, or you're buying, you know, the 905 to get all these bands, which I can't afford out of my pocket. But so I'm running that. I'm running a Yaesu 847, the satellite radio, and then I'm running some really cheap, you know, 706 and ICOM 7000 for backup radios. So nothing I have is really new.
I was just gonna say, like, the greatest radio ever that still exists is the 706 Mark IIG.
Oh yes, I agree. I mean, it's really old, but it's a legend, I think.
Chris, I got a question for you, because I think I saw this on your van, maybe not. You just mentioned satellite. Have you any experience using the egg beater antennas for satellites?
I don't. I really want to get some.
Marvin,
work truck, to be honest, so I can work satellites while driving. I spend 6 hours on the road a day. I'd love to work satellites while driving, but
that's the other thing about this little radio here, because it is, I can split it between VHF, UHF, and I was thinking about getting the egg beater set up, putting it on top of my Jeep, sitting in my Jeep and working sats with it. You know what I mean?
I have worked FM satellites going down the road. I have a pretty unique commercial grade radio in my truck that I wish this company, it's Kenwood. I really wish Kenwood would do the same thing for the ham community. So Kenwood has come out with a VM 7000. It is a multi-deck radio. You can buy the VHF deck, UHF deck, 700 meg deck, 800 meg, or low band, 40 megahertz band deck, and they all go to one head. So you can have multiple antennas going to these with multiple decks, control it from one head. And I wish someone would do that for the ham bands. So you could pick your company and get the head and maybe one deck, and you could grow with it.
That would be great.
The thing about this radio, what makes it so cool, I use it a lot for ham, is I can listen to any of those decks at the same time. I can listen to all 4 decks. It has 4 speakers, so I can listen to all 4 at a time or just one at a time. I can have full duplex talk on a satellite by going in on VHF and still listening to UHF at the exact same time. The technology is there. They've got it down packed. It does, DMR and P25 and analog. How about Kenwood step up to the plate and make that for amateur purposes? They could buy the HF deck, entry level, buy the HF deck. You're on HF, and I want to get into weak signal stuff. You're going to buy each band. Adam.
The comment about the G90 and 27555. I cannot confirm or deny that I have worked 27555 with my mod on my G90. So we'll leave it at that.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
I want to go to Marvin. I know Marvin wanted to jump in, and I think you got to get going too, right?
Yeah, I got to get going here, but I just want to say, great show tonight, guys. I think this has been awesome. It's been a really good discussion here around this, and I'm glad we did this topic. Just quick things around my channel. Just released a newsletter today. It'll be up on my Patreon site. You should be able to go see that. Just a ham radio guy, and coming out with got 2 more podcasts yet this month. One on talking about national preparedness, and I'll surprise you with the other one. So stay tuned for those. And I'll be in Wisconsin starting this time driving to Wisconsin this time next week. So I'll be up there putting hopefully my repeater up, and I will not be getting the flex in time while I'm there. So unfortunately, that won't be getting up until probably November, it looks like. So
Marvin,
not shipped till then.
Wisconsin, you're going to be?
Pepin, Wisconsin. It's west central, or like kind of the west side of the state, right on the Mississippi River.
Okay, cool.
It's north of La Crosse.
Work over on the other side, up on Marinette. It's right by the UP.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Yep,
Hey,
absolutely. So
sorry to interrupt.
Quick comment, Marvin. Nice job on the insurance episode. I listened to it today and was quite, thinking, oh yeah, I gotta insure the flex down here in the corner.
Yeah, so I just did that episode. I really hadn't, I hadn't really found anybody else talking about that, and it's something I've had for a while. Like, even though I just let mine lapse this last spring and kind of forgot about it, because I've just always just pretty much had it on auto renew. But as I was changing, and I knew I was changing some equipment, I didn't do that. But there's 2 different companies out there somebody should consider. So go listen to my reasons to why you should have ham insurance and how it's separate from your homeowner's insurance and whatnot. So go listen to that recent episode out there on your favorite platform: Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever it might be.
That was a good episode. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's really good. And I got to get around to doing that, because especially operating portable like a lot of us do. You raised some good points too about what might be covered with homeowners insurance or not, and then how much of a premium you're talking about paying to get something that happens, to a radio fixed. And then if it's a radio that's in a car, it might not be covered under the auto insurance plan. It is a really good episode.
Yeah,
well, stuff, guys. Check it out.
Did a lot of research around that. Did a lot of search for it to try to find the information to be accurate as possible. So, something I've kind of had to experience myself. As I told you, I'd had a break in my vehicle at one point. So, I've been there, done that. So, it's
and you missed the big important thing. You got a brand new logo too, right?
I do. Yep, have a brand new logo out. You can find that at the top of my YouTube channel here. You'll see it on my Patreon site. And it came out big on my newsletter today. Like I said, I'll get that posted this evening yet to the Patreon site as well. So got the new logo out there, and really looking forward to that. And it's been very good. So I had some good comments on this insurance one. I've had a couple other people email me directly with that, and so good stuff. So
Marvin, you're making me think. I don't think Geico knows what I've got in this van. So
yeah, you Chris especially.
Well, I don't. That's funny, because if you do KM4ACK's video, I'm going to put a quick plug in for him, and I got to go. But he did 2 videos ago. He talked about he shared a bunch of radios with his wife on his kitchen counter, and he kind of asked her how much the amount of those radios were, and she goes, it's handheld, maybe $100. no, it's worth $500, you know, sort of thing. And it's like, well, this may be my last video, he says, after she finds out how much I've really spent on radios. So it is kind of scary to see how much when you start adding up what you have for radios and investments, and you have, you know, 3 or 4 HF stations, even your little handhelds that are $500-600 now for like a TH-74, 75. I mean, you got antennas, you got rotors. I mean, antennas aren't cheap. You know, you got your tower. It certainly added up to a lot of money really quick. So it's kind of scary almost.
Well, when you get out to Wisconsin, if you need a flex to operate, let me know. You're welcome to mine.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you know. I might remote into yours. I've also got W1 STJs I've been playing with a little bit too. So had some good luck with that. So it's been fun. So anyway, appreciate it, guys. Have a good night, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Good seeing you, Marvin.
Good seeing you,
guys. All right, see ya.
Awesome. Well, we're coming up. We've been going for 2 hours, so this is like
a ham radio moment. Yeah, a ham radio clubhouse moment, right?
Yeah.
This is scary.
No, this has been a lot of fun, but trying to be respectful of everybody's time. I think it might be good to just continue on and going through the list, and you know, give everyone a chance to share some parting thoughts, maybe talk about what they got coming up next and stuff. And so let's go with you, Chris. Let's what do you got next? Where's the van heading? Where are you off to next? What's going on this weekend or the coming weeks?
Wow. This weekend I plan to be on the road doing the VHF contest, but that is out. Just too many life getting in the way here. Kind of taking some time off to do some maintenance on the van. I've got to get a alignment so I don't have to be grip on the wheel driving it. That's coming up in next week, and then preparing for the fall and winter contest season. So hope to be out for all the major contests starting, I believe, the end of October, and being out on the road. I'm really happy you guys invited me on here. You guys have kind of inspired me a little bit to go the next step. I've been having a lot of stuff in the queue to put out on my channel. This has got me a little bit psyched up to do that. So trying to work on some audio and video stuff hooking up in the van here to bring you guys to my adventures out on the road doing HF contesting. So
I think what you got going is going to like explode. You got a great idea, great channel, great content, what it's all about, and finding that, and that's what it's at.
I just got to get over this, you know, go and being on. So thank you for the opportunity to come on and spend some time with you, and that makes producing some videos myself a little bit easier.
Yeah, everybody go head over to Lost Nation Radio and show Chris some love for sure. Get him over the hump to 100, and demand you want to see the live streaming of the next contest coming up. I'm looking for that. I want to see that.
What I am looking for is I would love to find 5 other people or 4 other people in the United States that would like to live stream a contest and have 5 people competing against each other within a contest. And
that'd be cool. Awesome. Thanks so much, Chris. Walt, what do you got? What's for dinner tomorrow? Where are you going for dinner tomorrow? Where are you operating? What's coming
food
up?
Again?
Yeah, I'll tell you, today I went to the most awesome oyster bar today and like slurped down a dozen oysters. You'll see that in the I'm gonna post that video tomorrow. I started editing the video. Tomorrow I'm going to the 11 meter thing if band conditions are there. That's the plan. You know, you guys know you're YouTubers. Sometimes you plan something and you want to go out and then like
oh yeah,
SHFT that doesn't work, whatever. It's the fan, whatever with the thing. But the plan is tomorrow. I work on Saturdays. I'm going in the shipyard and working from 6 to about 2. I'm not sure. I got a couple ideas of beaches I'm going to go operate on with this thing. I might come back here and kind of a block away. I'm living right by a beach here, about a block away, and operate here. I've been if you watched any of my videos, that little place called Iggy's or whatever there, I might go there, do fish and chips or something tomorrow for lunch or whatever. I cannot believe how I one video I put in at the end of the video, I said, I'm going to go over here and eat some seafood. And everyone just bombarded me with like, keep doing that. So I try to put that at the end of the video because I know there's a lot of hams that don't want to watch me, a fat guy eating shrimp. You know what I mean? So I put that at the end. But yeah, that's the plan. Tomorrow, the 11 meter thing, I do have the other radio coming. What I want to do, if the conditions are there, I'm going to get up Sunday morning at Dark 100 and I want to make a VK or a ZL contact with this little Q900.
Okay.
And then and I want to try to do that Sunday morning if I can. My if you watch my videos and you really look at them, the majority of my stuff is done on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and then I put it out during the week because I work a lot of hours during the week. So that's kind of where I'm at and what's going on with and how I do it with life. So there you go. But that's what's coming, Mike and guys.
Put K4OGO on ham alert, man. That's what I do.
Yeah, I probably should. I'm a hunter.
You don't need to put yourself on, but yeah.
Hunter. I hate to say this, you know, and people are watching. I'm sorry, but I've actually got people that have been pissed off and mad at me because I put on Facebook that I'm going to be on 28.435 at so-and-so, and I get on there and call CQ or whatever, and I don't hear anything, and then they get mad. You said you were going to be there at 1800, whatever. So I'm more of a hunter than the CQ guy. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, we can fix that problem. Just don't post on Facebook. You'll be fine.
There's one thing. If you want to, we could do an entire stream for 2 hours about ham radio on Facebook. Could we not?
The dumpster fire of Poto, we all know well. I see Mike posted that too as well. I give you credit, man. You have to have thick skin for that.
Yeah. What about you, Eric, buddy? What you got coming up?
Oh, well, a couple of things. Live Free and Ham. Obviously, we got an episode dropping Monday. That one's actually going to be an interesting one. If you really liked our HF in the car episode where we talked about, having integration of your radio with your car stereo controls and that kind of stuff. We're going to be talking more this time about how we wish, a lot of the, big three would get their heads out of their butts and realize that, hey, think about open standards, more software kind of based radios where, we can get back to tinkering. I think the new tinkering, and we talked a little bit about in the episode where, having opportunities to, be more in the open source space, which was a big thing to be able to manipulate the radio in the way you want without having to have your hands tied, on an APRS version, or you're not being able to use the TNC the way you want it, and having to have 5 different radios to be able to do one specific task. So yeah, that was a good episode. That'll be dropping soon. And my channel, man, if I could get, our 2, guys from the Live Free and Ham episode together, we're hopefully going to get out on a field in a big wide open space, and we're going to put to rest finally a whisper test against 3 of the big 3 verticals that are out there when it comes to portable antennas. And so, we're looking forward to recording that, and I'd love to get that done soon. And then I got a bunch of other stuff. I've just finished polishing up my W1AW trip that I went down to see Marvin at ARL headquarters. So that was a blast to check that out. And I operated W1AW, but I operated W1AW on one of the days that we had an R1 blackout. So no matter how much power you have, there's nobody hearing you. It doesn't really matter either way. So, it's kind of a loss there, but it was still fun, and I still had a blast, getting a chance to get the inside tour with Marvin there, because he works for the ARL Learning Center, if you didn't know that. Outside of that, we do this once a month, and I love hanging out with you guys. It's a blast, and thanks again for joining us, Walt and Chris. It's always fun having new guys in here, and we just want to spread the Northeast love of ham radio.
Awesome. Yeah. And the podcast is great. I don't know how to share a link to subscribe to the podcast, but definitely, check out Eric's channel, and then the Live Free and Ham channel as well. It's awesome. What about you, Paul? What you got coming up?
Muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Oh,
I
there we
waited
go.
a second to see if it was my earbuds. I was like, did they die?
All right. So now that I've unmuted, yeah. So just a huge shout out to all the Live Fran Ham fans and subscribers. I'm coming up on a year being on that podcast, and I'm having a ton of fun with it. A huge thank you to the 120 people that have subscribed to my channel. I know lately you're getting inundated with softball stuff, but I'm a versatile man. I'm not all about just ham radio. So you never know what you're gonna get. You might get some range time. You might get some softball. You might get some radio. But thank you for everybody that's subscribed to my channel. I got a couple of videos coming out. Episode 6 of the Weekend Warriors is going to get released Sunday at noon. So yeah, so huge thank you for everybody that takes part and watches the Weekend Warriors. I have a lot of fun with that. It truly is kind of my like group therapy, if you will. It's just a bunch of military guys and veterans, and we just sit down and we talk about whatever's on our mind. So it's great, and I appreciate everybody. Thanks, Jody, calling me the Renaissance man. Yeah, I just I love what I'm doing. I'm having a ton of fun doing it, and I appreciate everybody that's along with me for the ride.
Awesome. And just like you, Paul, I'm just having fun. I do a lot of different quirky things, from going out doing POTA QRP to doing VHF contests, which is going on this weekend. Short plug. I'll be out sometime. I think Sunday is, because my son, I got to coach a flag football game tomorrow morning. And then I got something else coming up tomorrow morning I'll get to, but I'll be out probably Sunday doing the VHF contest for a little bit. And I always look forward to doing the 3 big contests for VHF. It's a lot of fun to just try different bands and different modes. At the end of the day, that's how we all learn, is just getting out, trying different things, trying to build something, trying to do a different band, a different mode, and whatnot. But I have something, and I'm going to plug, and I'll drop the link real quick. I'm doing something different, and I've never done this before, but I'm going to do a live stream tour of the Antique Wireless Museum tomorrow.
Looking forward to it.
Nice. 2:00 Eastern time. I just dropped the link. It's about like a half hour or so south of me. It's basically in my backyard, and the Antique Wireless Museum is absolutely amazing. I went there last September. I took over an hour of video footage and edited that down to like a 8 or 10 minute short clip to go through. But this is everything wireless communication. So there's ham radio there. There's a replica of, a Western Union telegram station. There's a mock-up of the radio room from the Titanic. This is Rochester, New York, the home of, Harris RF. There's a whole section dedicated to military radios. Everything from the original cell phones, these big bricks that, the doctors used to carry to the sports games, to anything that has to relate to wireless communication, broadcast TV, broadcast radio, it's absolutely phenomenal. And so I worked it out. I was trying to get in there earlier before they opened up, but my son's football game got scheduled. And so I got to do it after that, since I'm coaching, but nonetheless, I'm going to go through there and doing it live. If you guys tune into the live stream just for a little bit, you'll have the opportunity. I'll be watching the chat, ask questions. If you got questions, ask questions. We're going to check out some really cool stuff. It's going to be a journey through history of everything wireless communications. Like I said, whether it's a cell phone, ham radio, the telegram, military, radio, everything, it's phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be cool. I'll try not to shake the camera too much. Hopefully we'll have good Wi-Fi and good audio and everything. But I've been planning this for a while, working with the guys, and this is like the one weekend that worked out for all of us. So we're going to make it work. And, at the end of the day, this is kind of like my Super Bowl weekend when it comes to ham radio, doing this live stream with all of you tonight, going on the tour tomorrow, doing the contest on Sunday. It's going to be a blast. This has been awesome, and thank you all so much. Everyone in the chat, everyone who stuck through us, you know, for 2+ hours. This has definitely been a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun. And with Walt, go ahead.
You're muted, Walt. You're muted.
Walt, you're muted.
Mute.
All right.
There we go.
Just saying, senior moment. The whole problem here, and the reason this lasted 2 hours, I want to apologize. Once I get going talking, I can't stop. So I apologize for the long-winded thing. I've been it's been so awesome, and I've just absolutely enjoyed it. Enjoyed meeting you guys. Paul, I want to come up and do some range time with you.
Absolutely.
Cool. And Eric, man, so great meeting you. Chris, we've met before, kind of real quick. And the other thing, Mike and I have been friends for quite a while, but man, you guys this is probably one of the most fun live streams I've ever done. And I've done a lot of them, man. I've done, you know, the coffee and ham radio guys that I've done it with Callum. I've done it with, you know, the European ham radio show. I've done a lot of them, man. This has been, I can't shut up. I've enjoyed it so much. So thank you guys. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
No problem, man. Glad to have you.
Thanks for being here, Walt.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all. We'll say 7-3, and the best clam chowder is red.
White.